Pat McGrew from McGrew Group, and I'm here to host a really cool roundtable. Our topic today is, will software actually drive success for your volume printing business? And we couldn't have two cooler people to have this conversation with. So first I want to introduce Jonathan Malone McGrew, who is the the engagement manager for Solimar Systems. And I want to also introduce my good friend, Jamie Walsh. Now, so here's the thing. They're both with Solimar. They both have years of experience in talking about software and in helping printers do better with the software that they have. And that means that our topic is going to be really lively and really interesting. I want to level set for a second. This is the industrial print track. And you may be saying to yourself, well, can software really help my industrial printing business? And the answer is, every survey tells us yes. The more industrial print grows, the more it becomes part of how businesses create printed communication. The more software can help optimize it, make it more efficient, make it more creative, help take time out of the workflow and allow you to add more creativity to what you're producing. It's a really amazing solution set when you start to look at how software and really well-defined workflow architectures can influence an overall industrial print setup. The surveys tell us that print service organizations that adopt software that help them automate make more money, waste less time, waste less materials, all contributing to a better bottom line. So that's why we're here today. We want to help you achieve those same effects. So Jonathan, I want to start with you because from the highest level, people are suspicious of software. There's always this assumption, I think more so in industrial print than in transactional print, that software is fluffy and it doesn't really bring value to the business. It might solve a few operational problems, but it's a big cost, and millions of professional services people are going to arrive, and there's going to be this big cost in trying to map it into my environment. And at the end of the day, I might be left with a bunch of stuff that my people hate, and my business isn't really running any better. But at Solimar, you have a different kind of experience that you can share, and a different approach to helping people automate.
Yeah, I think that's really important. When we talk about how we're going to drive people's success in the future, or will we? I mean, our position really is that we will, because what we have sought to help people understand is that software can be a good experience, a low professional service experience, but more than that, it can really drive the ROI that they need to see to not only invest, but to convince their other business colleagues that this is the right way to move forward in their business, right? You want to see more business coming in the door. You want to see your operators less stressed when they're printing. You want to see the ability to understand what's happening in your business. And software doesn't have to be evil, right? It doesn't have to be a pain, but also honestly, technology has driven so much change in the world. I mean, just look at how we're doing conferences like this right now in conversations. We couldn't have thought about doing this probably easily even 10, 15 years ago, right? You needed big video conferencing setups. So what I really hope people think about as they're joining the session and watching is, what areas of their business are they struggling with? Or where are the bottlenecks? Where are the slowdowns that they think that technology could help them with? And I think, based on what's happened in the last 12 months or so, that could be really around how much they can see, how much they can access from their home office or from a remote location, from their mobile phone. And I think really considering how much control and reporting and tracking they really have, visibility and auditability, is going to be important for this conversation.
So it's going to be about getting a better view of my business. That's going to help me become more efficient. But it's also about getting pieces installed that will give me those views, right? There's data to be captured, there are processes to be reconsidered, there's an architecture to be defined. So Jamie, you and I are veterans of the software wars. We've both been doing this for a while, and we've seen a lot of promises made in the software space around making workflow better. And we didn't used to talk as much about trying to track jobs at discrete levels and trying to know where they were at every step of the way and being able to sort of know immediately when a bottleneck happens and get in to resolve it. A lot of the things that you're working with in the Solimar ecosystem help do those things to make things more efficient. How do you have that conversation with a printer in a way that helps them understand what the value proposition to them is?
It's an interesting one, Pat, because you're right. The industry has evolved. The customers of our customers have evolved as well. So the demand is very, very different today. And the last year with COVID has seen another major shift and the adaptation and adoption of software solutions. From my history selling hardware, software was always, the bridesmaid, never the bride kind of thing. People featured and focused on all of the big high value tin, but they didn't really pay enough kind of time and put enough effort into understanding what software can do for the business. It seemed, as you said, complicated. It's easy to bring this new press in to replace that press, but software goes to another level. You do need a better insight of your own business and your customer's business to know where you're going to hit the real special spots for them to make the most of it. So, having something that's off the shelf, it's easy to implement, it's easy to service, and has low touch points from a service perspective is absolutely vital. And people are they're warming to that now. They're being more open to these conversations because they do see that they can't do everything through manual processes. They can't just keep throwing large investments at hardware technology. We've got to get that. We've got to get the maximum out of the hardware, and that comes down in our view, and I think the industry's view now. It's software that's going to do that for them.
So one of the things, Jamie, that always intrigues me about the application of software to workflow problems is that you sometimes get this indirect benefit. Especially if you were running high capacity, high volume hardware, you could find that you have more capacity and the ability to sell more things. And I don't think we talk enough about that it's not just about having visibility into the process, but it's also about making the business capable of growing more evenly.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big words that we've got to think about when we think about software is efficiency. The more efficient we can become as an individual, as a business, then the more that we can do. So that opens up new avenues for taking on new customers, taking on new applications. And it's all about getting the data about the business, because you have to make an informed decision. You can't just say, oh, I'm going to go and buy a piece of software because I think it will do the right thing. Data is so important, and with the software that we deliver, you can gather that data, you can report it and track it, and that helps you get the ROI back on the products. So efficiency and the ability to collect and utilize data in a business sense is absolutely vital.
So Jonathan, you were telling me that you have customers who've actually shared data and case studies with you where they've been able to apply some of this Solimar technology in a way that really improves their business quite a bit. Can you share a couple of those ideas with us?
Yeah, of course. I mean, because what we love is that we actually have a lot of customers that will share. We have a very strong customer advisory council that we're growing internationally. It's 30 members at the moment. And so from some of those customer advisory council members, we call them our CAC, so we don't have to say the long name all the time. But we hear things like the workflows go from 24 hours to an hour or under. We hear that they have better visibility and better automation and tracking so that they can move full-time equivalents or, other staff that are doing manual processes or doing tracking and reporting processes through spreadsheets and other methods onto more valuable tasks for the business, which directly impacts being able to bring in more revenue. We have a customer that does books, kit books and things like that for promotional reasons. And they were able to see 50 hours of improvement by putting in automation and reporting and all sorts of interesting ways of improving their visibility in their business. And they paired that with some postal savings here in the United States, which also just adds to the piece of the return on investment pie, right? But these are the things that are super important to look for when you're looking at any software package, whether it's Solimar or otherwise. The reason we're here at FuturePrint is because we truly believe as an organization and as experts in our field that software can really make the difference, especially as we don't know what's coming. The theme of this conference is adaptability. And what we've seen our customers doing in the last 12 months is truly adapting whether they want to or not, because they have a business to run. And so what we are trying to impart, I think, through this kind of session is look at these areas where software can help you not only adapt today, but future-proof for tomorrow. Another great example, I think, of what you can do with tracking and visibility is look at how new technology like JDF and JMF are connecting to the hardware partners, the hardware vendors out there. And we have a really strong view on how that's going to be the future. We even have some Solimar Secrets videos with you, Pat, on how technology is changing what you can achieve in a productized way instead of custom coding. And we just so firmly believe in that. But what it's letting us do is get things back like ink and media usage reporting off certain vendors' equipment. And we're working with more and more vendors to bring that together so that this platform we have, we call it our chemistry, like the chemistry we have on these sessions, but also these building blocks so that we can bring our customers strong productized stuff. And I think everyone should be looking at that no matter what kind of software they're looking at or who it's from. Make sure you have all this value in there when you buy it so you don't have to then pay for a lot of custom stuff to keep it running, right?
That's true. Jamie, I always think of the UK as a place where there's a lot of innovation in print. And I know industrial printing we used to think of as being, spray an address on something and get out of the way, or, spray something on a label and get out of the way. But it's becoming more variable. I mean, one of the things that's really changing in the world of industrial printing is it's starting to look more and more like transactional and direct mail printing than it ever did before, because the hardware that's in the market is more and more capable, and there are more and more workflow options. Solimar's had 30 years of experience helping automate and optimize variable printing. Do you see that the industrial print segments are going to be more and more interested in adopting back office software workflows to help them achieve more?
I think so, Pat. I think it's natural progression. If you go back to the world of Darwin, everybody comes out of the light or comes into the light. And I think that's certainly happening. When you say about personalization, break that down. It's more than just name and address, because it goes into versioning, localization by language. And I think the diversification of products that people are producing now as well lends itself to that. And again, it goes back to the data and the information that people have. And I think we've seen a lot of people also diversify their business. What used to be a transactional printer or a direct mail printer of yesterday is now a packaging printer. They also offer labels, and they offer different disciplines. And that's a natural sign of the times, because people need to create a concrete business that has longevity. And by adding these additional services, they have the print equipment to do it, because you can print packaging on your on your press that you would have printed your direct mail or your transactional pieces. It's possible. What the software does is help them get into those markets, because it manages all of those upfront disciplines before we get to the actual idea of printing, to enable those revenue streams. And then obviously with things like the visibility and the tracking and monitoring, we go downstream into the processes to monitor what's going on, because people
and they
still
might
need
not
to know.
realize they need it, right? I mean, this is,
Yep.
if you've been producing static work for a long time and all of a sudden you're leaping into what a digital press can do, the first alarm bell goes off the first time you're trying to find a piece of a job that has some specific variable data in it, right? And
Yep.
and that's some place that Solimar can help, right?
Absolutely. Again, it links in with our visibility tracking and monitoring solution, and it's, again, because it's modular, you can start at a very simple file-based tracking solution. So, just tracking the PDF with its 1,000 records in it, for instance. However, we can then build on that in the future as the customer needs or as compliance changes to say, actually, I don't need to know where one file is. I need to know where the subset components of the file are. And it's, it's a phrase that you and most of the audience will be familiar with, piece level tracking. And yeah, absolutely. So again, it's utilizing the tools that we have in the kit for what's needed today, but also being able to adapt that for the future needs. And as Jonathan said, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So having software that can be very reactive is valuable to the customer.
Can I keep track of things on my phone, or do I have to be sitting in front of my computer in the office?
You teed this one up beautiful. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, because I'm thinking of all the people who've had to send a lot of their staff home.
Of course.
And the plant manager who wakes up in the middle of the night going, oh, gee, did that job run?
Yeah. So yeah, the platform has an API interface on it. So whether you're on Android, whether you're on iPhone, it could be just through your normal computer browser, through your web browser. Absolutely, you've got full access to that system, to dashboards, to the reporting functionality. And you can go from a very high level and you can get very, very granular in terms of the detail that you can see about those jobs, even to the point of what's on this particular press at a given time as well. So yeah, people are having to work remotely. We know that. It may change in the future, it may not, but regardless, everybody still has to go away from the office at some stage or away from the production floor. We go to conferences. We could all be in Düsseldorf. But again,
we hope.
We hope. The production manager?
We wish, even.
Yeah. The production manager just has to pull his phone out.
What I would add to that is not only see, in our latest press release, actually, that just came out a little bit ago this month, right, before these sessions, we announced that now you can remotely release things from the web interface, from your mobile, from your computer, desktop. And that was a big add that we added, because we actually had a customer that actually Pat and I both would know because of where we live, that runs their printing center, and they actually stood up the tracking and visibility solution as part of our chemistry platform. We call it SolaTrack, that particular module. But the important part is that they had a more custom solution that they moved off of and stood up in 45 days at the end of fourth quarter. I mean,
wow,
that's what we mean by make sure it's repeatable, configurable, and basically we want you to be successful. We want you to be able to set it up and keep on going. And that's what we saw with this specific example. And they're doing everything that Jamie mentioned, down to piece level tracking, which was an announcement we made actually, I think right before the last Future Print conference. And so I think the other important thing, Pat, when you look at the market, and I wonder if you agree as an analyst, is you want to be working with people who have their eye on the market. So whoever you're working with in whatever industries, are they producing things? Are they talking to you about things that are pertinent to what's happening today and what we expect might happen down the road? And that's something that's really important to Solimar. We've got PDF optimization. We've got a full suite of post composition. And if you're not sure what that is, do some Googling. I'm sure you'll find us. Yeah. But it's important, right, to be in the now.
And let me answer your question. Very recently, McGrew Group has been doing a bunch of surveying in the market trying to get attitudes about, how people buy software and why people buy software and how they make a decision about who to buy their software from. And I think we'll all agree. There are a lot of solutions in the marketplace. There are a lot of workflow automation solutions. There are some other tracking solutions. There are a lot of software providers in the marketplace. The interesting thing is that across all of the surveys in packaging segments, direct mail segments, the commercial print segments and transactional segments that have been working on, the number one reason people buy software is the relationship they have with the vendor. Price actually comes in third when you start to look at all the different surveys and you aggregate them. And I think that's because they do look for what you're saying. They look for a vendor who not only is going to have a good relationship, provide great customer service, be responsive, but a vendor who is going to be aware of what's going on in the market and preparing for that next release so that when that next release is ready, it's exactly what the client base is looking for, because there's been a shift, right? And we've all seen the shifts to more variable data, the shifts to more customization, more file commingling of files, more file-based management. Piece level tracking is not something we used to talk about a lot. It was something we knew was a cool idea, but we didn't.
We used to think of it really as only necessary for those super high volume, transactional, regulated stuff. But I really want people to think about what you could do on a job or piece basis.
Think about labels.
Think about
labels. Think about folding cartons. Short run, customized, personalized folding cartons. There are all of these things that we know industrial printing is capable of enabling, is in the label and packaging space. There's not a lot of software in the front end of the management of it, the living with the solution part of it. And that would seem to be a place that you've got a solution that's already been tested.
Yeah, and shameless plug, because I did look at the Future Print schedule. So if anybody's watching this now and looking for their next session, Pat does a whole session coming up on software. So you'll want to look at that. Or if you're watching this as a replay, go find it, because
how to buy software.
That happens. Yes, and so we want you to make sure as a leader in her field, you check that out. But also come back to the Q&A with us. I know Marcus and Fraser have done an amazing job as part of this conference to give us an opportunity to really speak directly with you. So, I mean, I know we have probably a few more minutes here, Pat, but I just want to make sure people know that if they have questions, we're available. You can reach Jamie and I through the Solimar addresses. You can send it to contact us at solimarsystems.com and we'll see it, or directly to our emails, which we can make sure that you can find. And Pat, how do people find you before we, I'm sure we have another question.
I'm the easiest person on earth to find. PCM@mcgrewgroup.com, all one word, will always find me. And I'm always hanging out on LinkedIn, and a lot of people find me there and send me questions and direct message me there. So I'm always happy to be found. I want to give Jamie a chance to walk us out the door here. Jamie, somebody listening here, they said, hey, I'm an L&P printer, or I'm a direct mailer. I need some tracking. I need to understand what's going on in my workflow. I need a little bit more automation. I'm looking for some cool, friendly people to work with. What do they do next?
What do they do next? Okay. Plugs are over, so the gloves are off, I guess. I want people to think about a couple of things, Pat. And the first one is, it's a quote that I heard. It's an anonymous quote, but it's, your software changes the value proposition of our hardware products. Okay. Now I heard that and I thought, oh, it must be to do with print. I thought, brilliant. That resonates well. And it does, but the guy who said it was actually in the automotive industry. So, automotive printing, no necessary link there. But I think the power of the statement is exceptionally strong.
Yeah.
You know, how do we use software to change the value of the proposition of the hardware? Now, that's the value proposition to our customers, the print service providers, the industrial printer, the label printer, the transactional printer. But how do they then release that value proposition of the hardware investment to their clients and the products that they can use? So really powerful statement. I would then link that to a phrase that you often use: walk your workflow, know your workflow. Yeah. Solimar has a great program of self-assessment and on-site assessment. A little bit challenging at the moment, I've granted, but please engage us. We're willing to work with you to help you, point you in the right direction, to think about, you know, where are those little cubby holes that we haven't looked in for a while, where we're doing a load of manual processes and we've got pounds and euros just dropping out of the bottom of that area. The self-assessment is very, very easy. We can do it together, or we can give it over to you as an individual to do, but it asks some pretty basic fundamental questions, but it gets your mind thinking. And this is the problem. We're so busy nowadays, we don't always have time to stop and think about what's going on in our business. So it's a nice way just to break that down. As I said, interactive or in isolation, you can do that. And then, hey, when the time is right, on-site assessment, day, 2 days, walk the workflow, talk to the people, understand the processes, and then we get a proper vision of how we can make that software work the best for you.
You are singing from my hymn book. I don't believe anyone should buy software without doing an assessment, ever, ever, ever. I think you just open up too many problems if you do. We've come to the end of our time together. Jamie, thank you. That was absolutely a brilliant way to move next. Jonathan, thanks so much for your insights on the Solimar solution and where it fits into the marketplace. I look forward to seeing all of you on the next Future Print session. And don't forget to listen into the Q&A with our good friend, Richard Askham. Thank you.
Thank you.